this video, I'm going to be covering some tips for the Multistate Performance Test, or the MPT portion of your exam. I know that many people are resistant to the MPT for one reason or another. Some people are a little bit intimidated or overwhelmed by it, and others feel like it's easy. But either way, a lot of people avoid prepping this portion of the exam, which is unfortunate. This is because the MPT is worth 20% of your total bar exam score in a UBE jurisdiction. That is the equivalent of about 70 multiple choice questions. In other words, that is a lot. The great thing about this is if you take the MPT seriously, it can create a serious point cushion for your score. This should be great news because remember, you don't have to know any substantive law to do well on this portion of the exam. The examiners provide you with all of the law and facts to complete the task. It is your job to follow the directions and to get it done in the time allotted. That is why we recommend you practice MPTs early on in bar prep and regularly, and that you familiarize yourself with the different kinds of tasks. This way, you are putting yourself in the best position possible come exam day. With that, let's dive into some tips that will help you prepare for the MPT. Our first tip is you should start your MPT practice early on in bar prep. Don't put off thinking about these or practicing them until right before the exam. Many examinees do this and end up seriously regretting it. Most examinees struggle with the timing aspect of this portion of the exam, even those who do not usually struggle with timing. This is important to have on your radar because timing issues can be overcome, but it takes time and a lot of practice. Thus, by starting your MPT practice early on in bar prep, you are ensuring that you will do well come exam day. Our second tip is get in the habit of following the MPT directions. This may sound silly, but honestly, not following the directions is one of the biggest mistakes examinees make on the MPT. Examinees who follow the instructions are supremely rewarded with points. So this is something you want to make sure you are doing. To do this, we suggest you start every MPT by reading the task memo. This is where you will find the directions that you are supposed to be following. This is the first document in your file. We recommend that you take notes about what it says, especially when it comes to what you are supposed to discuss or what you are supposed to omit. You should come back to this and read it as many times as necessary when you are putting together your work product. Something else to keep in mind is oftentimes the task memo will give you formatting instructions or may direct you to another document in the file that will provide more specific formatting instructions. Again, this is helpful because we know that formatting your MPT properly is very important and it will get you points. So the big takeaway, follow directions. Read the MPT task memo as many times as you need, and we recommend coming back to it a few times while working on your MPT. Our third tip for the MPTs is to have a good approach. This is especially helpful for people who struggle with timing. However, we suggest, whether you struggle with timing or not, to have a good approach that you use every time you do an MPT. The approach we suggest is that you should start with reading the task memo. Take notes on formatting or the instructions, and then head on over to the library. This means you should skip over everything in the file, unless the task memo directs you to another formatting document. If so, read the formatting document before going over to the library. While in the library, get in the habit of reading and taking notes. Once you are done reading the library, you should go back to the file and continue to read and work simultaneously. The reason we suggest you should skip over the file and head over to the library first is because the library will help highlight the facts that are important to your legal matter. If you read the file first, you will likely feel like everything is important because you won't have any guidance yet on the law. Further, we suggest trying to allocate about 45 minutes to reading and working, and then use the remaining 45 minutes to continue working and rereading whatever information is necessary to finish the task. Our fourth tip is you should figure out how to answer questions that ask you to write persuasive briefs and objective memos. This is because persuasive briefs and objective memos are the most highly tested tasks on the MPT portion of your exam. In other words, statistically, you're likely to see at least one of these types of tasks on your bar exam, so you might as well know exactly how to handle them. Further, by practicing these, you will feel much more confident on exam day. Many examinees struggle with writing persuasively or objectively, so by practicing and understanding the differences, you will be in excellent shape come exam day. Our fifth tip is you should also memorize the highly tested MPT formats. If you come across an MPT and the task memo directs you to another formatting document with instructions, you should simply follow those instructions. But that is usually more common with uncommon tasks. In other words, when the examiners test highly tested tasks, they usually expect examinees to know how to format the task, and they will expect that the work product looks like it should. This is why you want to memorize those highly tested tasks so that you can get points for having a properly formatted MPT. This is also something that will make you feel more confident on exam day. If you need a reminder of what the highly tested MPT tasks are, they are the objective memo, persuasive brief, demand letter, and opinion letter. Our sixth tip is don't shy away from odd MPT tasks. Some people call these wild card tasks. It's not uncommon for the National Conference of Bar Examiners, the people who write the MPT, to ask examinees to craft a task that is not one of the highly tested tasks. In the past, they have asked examinees to draft provisions of a contract, or a complaint, or a bench memo, for instance. The great news about odd tasks or wildcard tasks is that usually when these are tested, the examiners provide formatting guidance or instructions. Thus, it truly becomes a task in following directions. In my opinion, these types of MPTs are the best because the examiners provide so much more guidance. However, many examinees do not like these types of tasks, or they do poorly because they didn't practice them during bar prep. So, when they see one, they get stressed out and perform poorly. This is avoidable if you practice these types of tasks during bar prep. It is unlikely you will see the exact same type of wildcard task on exam day, but you will have experience working through one, and thus you will be more confident. Our final tip is you should get in the habit of doing timed practice. Every single bar exam administration, we unfortunately talk to examinees who failed the MPT portion, and oftentimes the bar exam, because they struggled with timing. And they oftentimes tell us that they wish they would have started timed practice earlier. The good news is that this is a mistake that you can avoid. So start MPT practice early and start timing yourself early. Remember, in large part, the MPT is testing your ability to follow directions and to complete the task within the time constraints. Even if you struggle with timing, you can improve with regular, timed practice. We suggest that you start small and build on it throughout bar prep. Towards the end of bar prep, practice doing 2 MPTs back to back, just like you will be expected to do on exam day. You will be very grateful that you did this because you can walk into exam day feeling confident and like you have a good hold on the MPTs. We hope you found these MPT tips helpful.